My name is Brock. Again, I've lived in Springfield 20 years, all my life, pretty much. Since this story leaked, and this is something that everyone needs to hear, the hateful language in this community has spiked. It's really, really bad. I'm half black, I'm half Hungarian, I'm half black, half white, whatever you want to say. I've become a target of the hate. I could probably count on my hand, both hands, how many times a racial slur has been said my whole life. We called the N word twice this week by just people who group me. It happens. Even though my skin may be lighter, I think people just group us together. There's horror stories of people who are darker skinned that have been chased down by people who are white, saying, "Get out of this country." Friends of mine, friends of friends, saying, "Get out of here. You're Haitian. We don't want you here." Even with a 6-month-old baby at a grocery store. So, regardless, I find it shameful and I find it inappropriate whether I'm Haitian or American. What would you say to my fellow people here in the community in regards to this rhetoric? I don't think it can be tolerated. Tell me? Rock.
Brock. Yeah. All right, so this is a serious question. I want to take a minute to address this. I can speak some truth here. I'm in the camp of long-standing believing that the United States of America is not a racist country, the least racist country known to mankind. I have never experienced that type of invidious racism growing up. But I also want to speak a hard truth here because there's something going on in the country right now. When I say right now, I'm talking like the last 9 to 12 months in this country. There is a weird uptick in racial tension in this country that did not exist in the 30 years that I grew up right here in Southwest Ohio. And I'll tell you what's going on because this gets to the essence of what's going on in this country and bothers me. Take the immigration issue. You take 20,000 people who are
All right, folks. I'm 47. And when 9/11 happened, the Twin Towers came down, blame it on the Muslims, right? I was working at a place called Mansfield Plumbing. It was a pottery making toilets. I had a job of grading the drop-in sinks. They, at that time, this was in Perrysville, Ohio, which I knew was one of those pockets with a lot of racist folks that work there. So 9/11 happened. I seen, so because I was of color and I grew up always having somebody call me the N-word somewhere, someplace. When I came across them, I heard them call me that and or say the N-word, trying to get a reaction from me. So to alleviate myself from that type of conduct at the place I was working at that time, I chose to take my lunch break when nobody else was in the cafeteria. I was cool. I can eat my food by myself, right? But when 9/11 happened, within 2 days of it accruing, I still had to go to work. I was in the cafeteria and there was a table of 3 to 4 gentlemen, is what I'll call them. And I just had a sense of why, for the first time since I started doing this, is there people sitting here? Someone might be in my computer. So I asked, I just had this feeling. Whatever. I grabbed the same thing that I always eat every day, sat down at a table by myself, away from them as far as possible, and before I was done with my food, I heard them saying the N-word, talking amongst theirself. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be done. I know they're trying to piss me off. So I started to get up. I was throwing my food away in the trash can, and one of them looks over at me and says, yeah, and your N-word ass needs to go back to where you came from. So me being the person that I was, and I was young at that time, I was approximately 24ish, I looked over at them because I had to listen to them talking while I'm trying to eat my food in peace. So I looked over at him and I said, what? You want me to go back to Shelby, Ohio, where I grew up from? And then I walked out. Now, between the fact of 9/11 and what I had to go through, on top of the fact that I knew my son was in the womb being conceived, thank you very much, Carol. You didn't have an abortion. But for all three of those reasons, I say I was impacted by 9/11. Now, I've been living my life, still tolerating some of those folks. I live in Ohio. It is what it is, right? But for that young man to say what he's going through right now in Springfield, and for Vivek to say he's never experienced something like that, and the people clap because he grew up in a family that he never had to experience something like that, I believe that man to be a privileged. So if you're black in America, even mixed, he's light-skinned, I'm light-skinned, even being mixed in my state, right now I feel on edge. But I have a double whammy, folks. Because I grew up in Shelby, Ohio. Since the first day of school, I had at least one person call me the N-word a day. At least. I would walk down the street. Finally, once my parents got divorced, I got a little bit older. Finally, my dad let me, go out in society by myself. I've been pushed around by these folks. They are still out here. It didn't magically go away. And this issue, this thing, is getting bad. I believe it's honestly, I believe it is worse today. I am nervous. I'm not afraid to die. Do I want to get shot in the back? No. But I know just by observing my environment, when I'm around folks, I can see in their eyes when somebody hates me for my color. And even if they're willing to engage in conversation with me, I know that they're doing this to get a rise out of me, to get a reaction out of me, so that way they can say, see, all these inners are the same. Even the ones that grew up here with us. So I can't go get a job. Actually. I actually feel nervous for my life because I'd rather get shot in the chest, not in the back. And this thing is definitely picking back up. What happened to this young man, especially in Ohio? Hypothetical. If I go out on the street and do what I normally do, I love meeting people, I love engaging in intellectual conversation, but because most folks I communicate with only have a little bit of an understanding of whatever we're talking about, because there's always 2-3 sides. And if you only know one side and there's 2 other parts that I'm trying to inform you about, I see the anger in them. I'm not going to do that. If you want to talk to me or communicate with me about these things, by all means, here is where I'm going to do it. Now, I got a double whammy, I told you. Since I was a young boy, finally, once my parents got divorced, my father could be a dad. We were watching MacGyver one day. And in between a commercial, well, during a commercial break, he looked down at me. And he said, Mark, someday when you grow up, you're going to go work for the man. Now, if you learn as much as you can, you do the best at it that you can, you ask that man for more money because you earned it. Now, if they don't share with you, then by all means, turn your 2 weeks notice in and go learn how to do something else. God, I am so stupid. Because that advice that my father was able to give me stuck with me for my entire life. And I lived by it. That's why I'm so stupid. So every job I ever had, I followed that. So I've worked at a lot of places, definitely learned how to do a lot of things, and almost everything, every job I ever had, I ended up being so good at doing it that my fellow co-workers had the opinion, who the fuck's he think he is? Because I was able to just make a machine or cook food quicker and better than them. And they had a hate, I could see the hate in their eyes for me. I learned how to do that when I was a kid. Got so bad at my last job. I liked my job, my last job, that this hate was put on me by a fellow coworker. I utilized every means possible that my employer gave me. Took it all the way up to human resources, let it accrue to me 3 times through the process. Over a 3-month time frame. And still, it wasn't actually the money, because this employer gave me, within a year and a half, I could say that my income rose by 24%. Everybody else that I worked with there could not say they accomplished that working there. I did. I know it. I ran the numbers. And I talked about it because I wanted to encourage the new folks to want to do good. And if you do the best that you can actually at least be rewarded for it through income. Now, your coworkers are going to hate you, but whatever. You're not there to make friends. You're there to make money. You're at work, right? So, it really sucks. Because I know Vivek, that never once experienced this thing, and it doesn't even admit that it was there for the past 30 years. It breaks my heart because I know he's going to end up getting one of them jobs once Donald Trump gets to become president. And he doesn't have a clue about what we go through on a day-to-day basis. He was sheltered. So if we keep on electing sheltered folks, there's no way the problem's going to get fixed, folks. So I hope you got something from this. I love everybody. I want to do a good job at that job, and I'm tired of working for the businessmen. I would rather work for all of you. That's why I'm going through what I'm doing. But it takes more than one person. One person is not going to save America. There's Superheroes are not real. So, hope you got something from this. Good luck to all. To each their own. If you do want to try to help me, you'll be not donating to my campaign. I didn't even show you this. Here we go. So I started doing a research because when I took that part, when I was listening to it, and I'm like, oh, that is so much me. So I started looking into this. I grew up in Shelby, Ohio. And this is a census that was taken years ago. So I was born in 1977. At that juncture, they show no black people. No any of them. This is the black column. 1980, I was going to school there. This is how bad these people are. They don't even want to admit we're here. And that's why I totally disagree with the numbers our government comes up with how many immigrants are technically in our country. It's way more than that, folks. Right now, our Congress, Democrats and Republicans, are working together to pass legislation. Instead of 8,000 immigrants in the military, if they haven't already, they're passing legislation to let more. Because we got a buttload of them. I don't hate them. It's not their fault they're here. So, good luck to all. To each their own. If you want to maybe help me get through these trying times, this is where you go. You can donate. The only way I'm going to do this is through PayPal. And you can contribute so that way I can go around, which I'll be nervous, spread this message of an independent Ohio and trying to get us to collectively come together. I have a platform, and you can find it through my Facebook or through my channel. By all means, if you can't donate, like, share, subscribe. That's free. So, good luck to all, and to each their own.